All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 92 of my weekly GEMP game review series. I am your host, Chris Gogolin. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Monday evening as we wrap up the end of July here. We'll do a quick OCS recap, talk about the upcoming Texas Mini Worlds a little bit more, and then see what we got going on here. Looks like we got one OCS game currently going on, ISB versus Throne Room. Not really a matchup I'm very excited about. We've seen Throne Room more times than I can count, and ISB is pretty much one of the only two dark decks that people seem to be having success with right now. Uh, Watto being the other one. So it's certainly one that's being played almost ad nauseum. Hopefully, the set 13, which is currently in play testing, probably won't be released for another, you know, 6 to 8 weeks here. But hopefully, set 13 will shake things up a little bit more and give us some more viable dark side options. Bring back some dark side options. Breathe some new life into some old dark side options. It's like we got slip sliding away, which gave us all these new platforms, but it killed all the old ones simultaneously. That's really just more just where light side's at. Light side has just been so far ahead for a while now. So, but let's take a quick look at the old leaderboard. So July is almost over. We got Friday is the last day to play your July OCS games. Nick came out of nowhere. Well, not really out of nowhere, but he's worked his way up to 10-2 and is currently sitting in the top spot. 40% win percentage isn't the greatest. Ideally you'd like to be higher than that, but considering he's the only one at 10-2 right now, his options or his chances are still looking pretty good. A lot of people here at 9-3. Stubley currently in the number 2 spot and would qualify with a slight edge over Gavin right now. But we still have some live players. Jagtex right down here, Justin. If he wins his last game, he would get to 30, and with a 58% win percentage, would leapfrog over everybody and move from 13 all the way up to number 2 if he can pick up that last win. Werfs could pick up 2 more wins and get to 30. That would put him right in the mix here, depending on how his win percentage shakes up. But then you got Chris Kelly down here. Chris Kelly was 7-0. I guess he just played a game and lost, as he is now 7-1. So he's got 4 games left to play and 4 days to do it, and he needs, well, at this point, well, he could still win all 4, get to 34 points, and be at the top of the leaderboard. If he loses one more game with this 31 percentage, he's going to be below Nick, so he'd be in the number 2 slot. So that's certainly something to be a little leery about. But again, there's only one person at 10-2 right now, and not a lot coming up behind him. Joe right back here, could just create a little bump, just push it down a little bit, but that would still create 2 spots. Turner's 5-2. He'd have to go on a run and win his last 5 games in 4 days. Uh, this is 5-3. 5-1 down here with Charlie, but he's got 6 games to play. So, excuse me. Seems a little less likely. B Fred at 5-0. He's already qualified as well. So unless a couple of people who are already qualified go on little runs and then get up here in the top and kind of bump some people around, uh, Nick seems like he's in a pretty decent spot, but he is going to have to sweat it out a little bit longer. And we'll get the August League set up in the next couple days here. August is the final month of the regular season of the OCS. Then we have the draft in September, and we'll do the playoffs in October and November. Or maybe we'll do the draft the end of September, or the beginning of September. And then we'll start the round of 16 in the late September and kind of try and wrap it up by the end of October. And then we can go from there. Don't forget to get your 8 games in. Poe Dameron was the foil that we revealed previously. Let's see if I still have him around here. Yes, I do. Here we go. Nope, that was the wrong one. Camera. Bam. Poe with his Elvis hair is the AI foil for August. This is the one that you'll get for getting your 8 games in. For July, rather, I'm sorry. For getting your 8 games played, you get 1 copy of Poe. If you play all 12, you get 2 copies of Poe. And speaking of OCS foils and such, they have started to go out in the mail. Cornall, thank you for renewing your subscription. OCS foils, online play weekend foils have started to go out as well. Anybody who only played the online weekend, your foil is probably either went in the mail yesterday or today. I'm doing them kind of in batches and just sticking them in the mailbox because they're just single cards in a plain white envelope with a stamp on it. So those have started to go out. People should be getting them this week. OCS foils, I've got saw them. They're all pulled aside. I just got to get them in some envelopes because they are, you've got more of them. They're not going to fit in the standard envelopes, so they have to go in the padded ones. And then I have to print shipping labels for all those. It just takes a little longer. But my goal is to get those done throughout the week, get them all dropped in the mail periodically, and hopefully have them all out the door as we roll into August. And then we'll do August, September, perfect attendance, top 16 prizes all together. Possibly Texas prizes as well if there's stuff for that I end up being responsible for shipping. Yeah, I think that's about it. But since I mentioned Texas, let's go take a peek at what's going on with there. So last week we talked more about this, but we've got the Texas Mini Worlds event coming up here. August 8th is the last day to sign up. So you have, that is the Saturday. So you have just under 2 weeks left to register for this. That way Robbie can put the little pods together and everybody will kind of know where they're at and who's playing who, and they can get their time zones and stuff scheduled, and then have a couple days to prepare and get their deck list submitted for the event, which takes place the following weekend. All the details of the event can be found here, right here in this handy little what it is, how do I play, all that fun stuff. The registration links are all right here. You go to the store, you click this little button there. You pay your $20 and then you PM Rob directly with this information here. What your preferred day is. Do you prefer the morning or the evening shifts to try and get your games in? What your name, email, and your GEMP screen name is. We've already got 23 players now signed up, so that's off to a pretty good start with, like I said, just a little under 2 weeks left to go. So that certainly gives people plenty of time. You'll be responsible for that. Yeah, probably. There's a chance that Brian may end up doing it since Scott's been outsourcing a lot of stuff, marketing related prizes, at least for like PC donor stuff, and I think he was doing foil slips for the MPC or something, or Endor, something that they had to mail out. So Scott basically dumped it all on Brian, and he's been doing that stuff, helping us out. So Brian may continue doing that, in which case then that'd be one less thing on my plate, which would be great. There's a link somewhere to a form he wanted people to fill out instead of sending a PM. No scouting, yada yada, what to do with GEMP crashes. Alright, so it's not in the rules. Maybe it's just in the original thing. Yeah, I'm sure it's somewhere. I don't remember seeing it, but maybe it's around here somewhere. Second post of the registration list. I've made a Google form for people to fill out rather than filling up my PM box. Oh, okay. Please fill out the form. Oh, he went back and edited his original post. Okay, that's like, I don't remember ever seeing this, but then again, I would have skipped over it because it wasn't his first post. So fill out the form on the Google Docs. Let's follow this link and see where it goes. your name, your email, your GEMP name, your preferred date, your first and second choice for when you would like to start playing your games, and any additional comments. And then you hit the submit button, and that goes to him. So I guess it'll all go through here as opposed to filling up his PM inbox. Okay, if that's how he wants to do it, there's your form. Nice, quick, simple thing. Fill it all out. Get her done. Seems pretty reasonable. And thank you for pointing that out, both Adam and William. So Texas Mini World should be a good time. We got 23 people, probably double that over the next 2 weeks. Get up somewhere in the 45 to 50 range. Be nice to get 50. Have a nice even. We'll have 5 pods. It doesn't quite play out evenly. I guess you take the top 2 from each pod and then the top 6 overall finishers to get to 16. Or have the 4 worst finished. Give the top 4 a bye and have the top 2 a bye and have the bottom 8. I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to give the top 6 a bye, have the bottom 4 play for the bottom 2 spots, and then do a top 8 cut as well. You could do that. Uh, Cuts a round down, or you could just take more people and still do a full round of 16. I don't know, but we'll see. We still got plenty of time. Still, like I said, I got 2 weeks to sign up people and get that going. And then, of course, you'll have the last month of the OCS. If you're curious if you're in the running for an at-large bid, that's all listed still right here. There's also some stuff about ratings, which Adam has been doing and talked about a little more on the Hollow Theater show recently. Cumulative Standings is right here. It used to just show the link. Now it takes me to a separate one. So you still got Myers sitting at the top. He will not qualify this month. Adam is sitting right there well at 148. Almost impossible to catch Paul at this point. Paul could basically, I would have to almost like take the month off, which he won't do, in order to not get an at-large or actually qualify in August. But he's guaranteed pretty much as long as he plays his games. I think unless he goes like 2-10, he would miss out. Adam's got a small lead. He's got about a 3-game lead over Stubley, but Stubley may qualify this month. That would take him out of contention, and then that's going to open up a little bit more of a gap, as you see, before you get down to Gavin and Drew. So these guys are looking pretty good here, up at the top of the old leaderboard. Looks like they are likely to qualify to get their at-large bids if they don't qualify in August. So I'm sure the people in the middle down here are hoping that Stubley qualifies this month and Paul and Adam qualify in August, because then that'll open up these at-large bids getting passed down to the guys in the middle here. Chris Kelly certainly has a shot as well, as we talked about at the beginning, of qualifying directly this month, and then that would make his life a bit easier, because he's right now he's in the group of people that are going to miss out. But all right, so I think that's all that's going on in the old Star Wars universe right now, in terms of the forums and all that fun stuff. Obviously, Set 13 still being play tested. What's going on here? JagTech playing Turner in an OCS game right now. Watto versus Hidden Base. Ooh. That sounds interesting. OCS qualifier. JagTech playing Watto. And I've played against this Watto. This is one of my losses this month, was against this deck, which made me just want to vomit, because it's Watto, which is already annoying and stupid, and then some of his card choices are also annoying and frustrating and a giant pain in the ass. Hopefully, if anyone from the old design team happens to be watching this, there's a card we've been avoiding and dancing around for a very long time because it's made in honor of a player who passed away, 9 years ago. Um, but I really think it's time for that guy to get at least reworked to some degree because good old Ritik Hui, aka Eric White, is just really obnoxious and abusive at this point. You know, Lightside doesn't get to play beggar because it's shielded anymore, but let's give Darkside a guy who just once per turn gets to use their force. So your turn and their turn, basically just assume you're going to have one force less every single turn of the game. And when you combine it with the fact that you can use it to deploy stuff on your opponent on either turn, or it's Watto. Hey, you've got this effect in Achuba. Once per turn, use a force to look through opponent's lost pile and put all the docking bays out of play. You don't care about finding any docking bays. You're just using one of their force to look at their lost pile every single turn. Really annoying. Really stupid. Think it's time for an update. It's been a pain in the ass for a while. People have been bitching about it off and on for about 8 years. And yeah, there's the rant. So there you go. Keep the Jawa, give us beggar and frozen aspects back. Yeah. All right, so let's go large screen here. All right, so Watto. We all know what that does at this point in time. He puts some guys here, piles them all up, makes a nice big stack of people, and makes it very hard to interact with. And then he'll just keep putting guys here and then moving them over so he doesn't leave himself exposed while reinforcing his junkyard at the same time to help protect his Jawa, who's going to be annoying. Um, and then, yeah, if you leave more than one force, Ritik is going to spend that force. And if you leave two or three force, or just one, you know, if you just leave one so you can get around something like that, well, he's got answers for that too. Um, yeah. I don't know if this is a Team High Ground design or where it specifically came from, but I give him credit for putting a bunch of annoying cards all together in the same deck. Certainly had to thin some things out to do it, but certainly adds a different variation of it. But yeah, it's time for that Jawa to get adjusted the way he has so longly needed to. But again, because it's in honor of Eric White, who passed away in 2011. Um, and we made the card in 2012, and it survived the reset, to honor and to preserve Eric's legacy. But I think it needs a little revision here, and maybe just once during your turn or something like that. I think it's. I'm sure there's some ways to rework it. There's probably a number of ways to do it. You can play test it different ways, but it working on both turns is already problematic. And that's where I'd start with looking at it, whether it's going to be only on Darkside's turn, only on Lightside's turn. Only on Lightside's turn would be fine. They know they're activating 14. It's like, oh no, I've got one less. Okay, I can work with that. And there's a lot of other things that you can build around. When it's on Darkside's turn and you specifically have saved Force for stuff, and then he gets deployed and kind of messes all that up, it kind of screws things up a bit. All right, moving on. Yes. Yes, he would. Justin does all the winning designs. Bob creates all the losing ones. Okay, well, yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure there's some ways to. I look pixelated. That's interesting. I don't seem to be lagging. I'm not dropping any frames. Kind of in my standard frame rate. Got my little green bar and all that. All right, well, Hidden Base. Again, not a deck we see all that often in open play anymore. But we've got a new secret base to help get extra systems out faster. Plus, you get the bonus if you force drain once per turn. You can draw top card of reserve deck, help you get some cards back in your hand. He's going to match with 7. It's a Falcon. I was going to say, is it going to be a Luke or is it going to be a Falcon? Okay, it's a Falcon with Ray to Jakku. Ray gets you the card draw from used pile, as well as being able to draw the bottom card of your force pile. So that'll get turned some options here. That was using squadron assignments. So Falcon came from hand, Ray from reserve deck. There's Roche. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 systems out. I feel like I've seen this deck. Did we watch this deck last week? Because this looked familiar. Because I remember I was wondering if he was playing Asteroids because he played Roche. But it is just a force drain -1, I think is why he's using it. Because it's a 1/1 that drains -1. So it's a battleground that there doesn't really punish him at all for really deploying because his opponent can't drains for 0 there. So it's like I only plan on occupying 3 or 4 systems. I don't want to have to worry about this one, so I picked the least offensive one I could find. That's still a battleground that'll help me flip my objective faster. He's got projection here, so he's already stopping this drain. Yep, and there goes his opponent. He'll use Nachuba and look through his opponent's lost pile. Just spend a force, spend a force, spend a force. And then Mike saves 3. But he'll obviously use one of those this turn as well. Need like a demotion for Jawas. There you go. Yeah, you can play Choke. That lasts for what, a turn? That doesn't really do you any good. I think this is a terrible matchup for Justin. It's going to be one of those weird things where Mike's going to take a bunch of early damage because of the Watto objective, which it looks like he seems to have weathered, because that would be usually the thing. If you can hit Hidden Base hard and keep them from possibly losing a location early, that's certainly a way to disrupt their entire game plan and just shut them down fast, which decks like Watto and Hunt Down can do. They put the early pressure on. Your opponent either has to throw away a bunch of really good stuff out of their hand, or they've got to start milling some cards off their deck and crossing their fingers. In this case, he does pull Battle Plan, and he uses Retic here to spend 1 of Lightside's force to pay for the drain of 3, drain of 1, pay 3 for the drain of 1. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing as to where else Justin can do damage. I don't know that he's got Search and Destroy in this deck, which is usually the almighty answer card for stuff like Hidden Base and Yavin 4 Ops, EBO. He saves those last 2 force. Will he spend them to prevent the force loss? He's going to lose 2 and put the card in the used pile. See, this is always a tricky spot now because your opponent's got 18 force active. So you have to wonder, if you spend the 2, is this going to be a ship that's going to get deployed? And then he's got 18 more force. He doesn't even have the golden rod shield out, so that won't even cost him 2. Then he's got 18 more force with which to put pilots and other ships and stuff and, beat the crap out of what you got going on here. So Mike's going to top deck 2 cards to put this card in the used pile. Turner loses Slain and Corporal Facilities. Okay, so he's doing this one. This goes on Roche specifically, so that's why another reason why he would play that site. Didn't know he was playing this, so that makes sense now why he would run that system. During each of your deploy phases, deploy a starship weapon from reserve deck on your B-Wing. Maybe not using that part. Possibly. Retrieve 2 force whenever your starfighter or vehicle hits an opponent's starship or vehicle. That's really the big part of it, is retrieving 2 force whenever you hit something. So, like proton torpedoes are usually pretty good with that. There's an Admiral's Order as well that gives you a power bump and lets you redraw to try and help you target things, or you can put intruder missiles on some things like the Falcon and some capitals and uh, shoot some sevens at some people, and possibly hit things. And then you get 2 force retrieval. Uh, Losing that will certainly hurt. Not that Justin probably has a lot of space that he'd have stuff to shoot at anyway, but that is certainly one of his ways of prolonging the game. That is no longer available to him, assuming he only plays one copy. He may have an effective repairs combo or something to get it back. He may have 2 copies of it if it is something mission critical to the deck. It also could be a card that he's used to pulling with Wackling, but just didn't have the force available to do it. And then you can thank the Jawa for that. Honestly, don't know how Justin wins this. Have you met Mike? He has the Admiral's Order and the Intruder missiles and all that stuff. Okay, yeah, that's possibly where I was seeing it going. I know a few years back. Now, see, there's a is he the Admiral's Order? Is he playing the Naboo Admiral's Order, the Theed Palace one? That when you fire weapons and hit stuff, you retrieve? Because I feel like that's one too that Emil was using, 4 or 5 years ago in a hidden base weapons deck that he had. I forget the name of that particular Admiral's Order, but I could look it up. Now it's not that one. He's playing Concentrate. I thought we saw him top deck that earlier. Yeah, he's playing the one with the redraw and the power bump. Um, there's the one from, yeah, I want to say it's Let's Go Left, but I could be mistaken. All right. So the Invisible Hand came out. That got barriered. The barrier got grabbed. Now we've got Admiral Trench hitting the table on the Invisible Hand, and we get Newt Gunray, who's going to, if with your character, he can add a Battle Destiny. Remember, that's a May, so you do have to actually declare it. He's got Tae Hao. All right. This is the guy who cancels force drains by using force. He might get quite a lot of work this game. And then Trench, of course, does also have Trade Federation. And you can put him in the use pile to make the ship immune to attrition for the remainder of turn. So, Newt, not a pilot. I'm sure Tae Hao has Trade Federation as well. Yeah, okay. Tae plus the Invisible Hand gives you 1 destiny. Newt could add with Tae to give you 2. And then you could just throw Trench used during the battle to make the ship immune to attrition for the rest of the turn. So you'd still get your 2 Battle Destiny. Even if you didn't have... Well, if you didn't have Tae Hao there, then you'd lose your pilot, so you wouldn't have enough ability to draw off the first one. But Newt could still add... If it was just Newt and Trench, Newt could still add a Battle Destiny with Trench as a declared action, and then send Trench used, so you draw the 1 Destiny and make the ship still immune to attrition. Alright, we get the draw phase now. Turner's going to flip. That's going to make Justin have to pay to draw. So he's going to pay 1 to draw a card. Interestingly enough, he could use the Jawa to make him his opponent pay to draw the first card. If he so wanted to. Hand is not a battleship. Tae Hao does nothing. Is that he only works on a battleship? When aboard a battleship. Oh, thank you for correcting me. I'm so used to seeing him in Invasion, where he's usually on the blockade flagship. That yes, he does have a specific requirement there. Obviously, if he's playing Tae Hao, he's got to have some battleships in the deck, whether it's the droid control ship, the one that reacts, possibly the blockade flagship as well. But this is not. This is a dreadnought. This is not a battleship. So. Trench obviously can also run command to limit. Alright, Darkside's going to probe. Turner would not have flipped if it was Jakku. That would just be silly. To stop him from drawing 2 or 3 cards. To then have his objective go out of play. There's no way it's Jakku. No way. But Justin, sometimes you just got to go through the motions and make sure you hit them all. Because you don't want to ever be wrong. So Solo is going to add a Destiny with Ray. Now he's going to play an interrupt from the Lost pile. He did have a Control Tunnel Vision in there, I did see. That could certainly be, yep, that's what he's going for. He's got 12 cards to pick from. I always look pretty. And let's see, he's got a few minutes here to figure out which card he wants to take. All wings combo to get around a limiter. That's certainly a possibility to get around the command. You could take an all wings combo. And it would spin a 6, because this is maneuver equal to 6 while you've got Han or Ray piloting. But probably not the card you probably want to pick in this point, because you probably want another ship combo, because you just need, I mean, obviously Trench can make him immune to attrition, and you're looking at a power difference right now. Darkseid's getting 2 Battle Destiny. His Destiny's fairly good in this deck, so you assume he easily draws 7 or 8. That seems more likely. Pick a weapon and just shoot the damn thing. It's only armor 5, and if you happen to have like a, I don't know, like a Tarn Mizan guy, or, you know, something like that. So they have a gunner who could add. Because right now you're looking at target a starship for free, draw Destiny, add 1 if targeting a starfighter, hit if total Destiny greater than defense value. But it's starship weapons, and we know that opens up a whole slew of interrupts as well. Cards like On Target that prevent pilots from using their ability to draw Destiny and keep the ship from moving away. Cards like Power Pivot that make it power 0. So there are certainly a number of options. Turner does only have a 6-card hand at this point, but he is going for the battle. Justin's going to play a projective to make him pay 2. He's going to grab the projective. It is certainly an annoying card and feeds more into this force denial strategy. And Turner will pay the 2 to continue the battle. We're going to get a Greedo as a react. That'll soak up some forfeit. He is going to fire the weapon. Does he have anything to add to the weapon draw? Otherwise, he's got to basically try and blind draw a 6 here. Oh, Justin's going to play a Trade Federation Tactics. Cancel an attempt to use a weapon to target your capital starship. That is the use part of that text. That is a 6. Most of us think of it as using it this way to get the blockade support ship or the invisible hand, or to retarget on target back to their own ship. But certainly Trade Federation Tactics, probably just a big saving grace right there. And a very key card for Justin to have. He's probably running 2 or 3 of those, to be honest. Looking at this type of space package, it's a good 6 Destiny interrupt. Oh, he had a hit and run as well, so he's obviously playing cards like that in the deck. Whether he had one in hand or not remains to be seen. Alright, so he does draw to 8. Ray adds 1 to the total, making it 9. Greedo soaks up 4. And then you're either looking at losing, I think Trench forfeits for 5, or Tehao, or Newt Gunray rather. Newt goes for 6 and would definitely cover. I believe Trench forfeits for 5. Yep. Meanwhile, Darkseid draws a whopping 11, which is going to kill both Ray and Solo. And Darkseid's going to win the battle. So there isn't even an opportunity for any type of legendary starfighter shenanigans. Not that it's going to come into play because he's not going to lose the ship. But just for those of you keeping score at home, Lightside lost their own battle that they initiated, which is always demoralizing. Anytime it happens, when you initiate the battle and then lose, that's usually when you want to. Most of the time, it's when you want to kick yourself. Sometimes it's on purpose. You know you're doing it intentionally or setting it up intentionally. Just sending in like a random EPP to try and clear a couple guys out. You know you're going to lose the battle, but you don't really care. And it looks like Justin may be playing on a tablet because he declared which character he wanted to forfeit in the chat before clicking on it. It's always a little harder on tablets or phone devices to click on the right pilot to forfeit, especially when they're sandwiched in the middle between a bunch of other guys. And Turner's going to draw a couple cards here, but he's going to save 3 remaining force. But he's going to get drained here for 3, which will be for free. And then he's going to get Wattoed for a card as well. And whether he'll spend the force this time. Justin's only got 3 cards in hand, so you have to make him wonder just what exactly he could be putting face down. And if it's anything you really care about. If it's another ground character or something, you definitely don't care. Oh, it's Maul. You probably don't care about him going down because you weren't going to the ground anyway. Maybe he just ends up as a passenger on the invisible hand for more forfeit or something, but I think this is how Justin wins. Yeah, I'm blurry again. That's just how I look. Is the screen blurry? Can you? Because I'm watching on Twitch as well, and it looks like at least the game text and everything all seems pretty good. So if it's just my face in the camera, that could just be how I look. Maybe one of my parents accidentally went back to 1955 and no. It's Twitch. I had to refresh to get a better connection. Okay. Alright, so he top decks another intruder missile and X-Wing cannon. He did lose a Blue Squadron B-Wing. And now Turner's going to lose 2 more rather than let him deploy that card. And then he's going to play It Could Be Worse and spend the 2 force instead to reduce the 2 force loss. Then he's going to get hit with It's Worse for 19. Game over. Coincidentally, if you ever do play It's Worse on an It Could Be Worse, I'm usually a proponent of going half. I don't go all in. I usually spend half my remaining force, so that way I can still do some stuff with the rest of my turn. So in this case, maybe spend like 7 or 8 force. I mean, depending on what he's going to need to move. He's going to need to probe. He's going to need to draw a couple cards. So if he had an It's Worse in that situation, I would have suggested spending like 6 or 7 just to tack on the damage and really speed the game up. So, Invisible Hand moves over to Narshada. Yeah, I don't think that's it either. It could be anything. Maybe Mike randomly picked his hidden base system. I know some people do that each game. Obviously, he's got one of each choice under there. Uh, Definitely know it wasn't Jakku, because there's no way he would have flipped with him sitting right in front of it. Roche seems like the really practical one, because when your opponent goes there to probe it, now it's a drain -1, so now they're not causing any additional damage to you. That seems like the most logical one based on these systems. But plenty of good drain 2 targets here. So any of these other ones you don't mind necessarily going to probe, because if you're wrong, well, you still get the drain for 2. And now Justin's just going to pay 1 to draw 1 for a while. Reloads his hand back up to 11. And then he's going to play the Coward Shield to stop his opponent from doing any sorts of retrieval until he gets to 2 battlegrounds. So whether he's got some Baragwins, which are nice with all these Starship weapons, nice high Destiny Starship weapons like 4 Destiny concussion missiles, 5 Destiny X-Wing laser cannons, and 7 Destiny intruder missiles. Play some Baragwins on your Falcon as passengers or whatnot and get some retrieval out of them. It's kind of card intensive, but hey, it works with capitals, right? He'll spend a force to masterful move. See, other ways of spending that, spending forces. He'll get his Gick out just in case. If nothing else, he takes a 1 out of the deck and replaces it with a 5. Which is always a good thing to do. Unless you're 100% confident there's no it's a hit. You gotta be 100% confident. Like if your opponent has no hand, okay, great, go for it, go all in. Or if you've revealed their hand somehow with like Monarch or something like that, and you know all the cards in their hand, and then they play it, sure, absolutely, go all in, crush them, demoralize them, end the game right then and there. Hey, there's that Tarn Mizan guy we were talking about. He's fun. He's so broken. He just doesn't ever. When he works, he's ridiculous. There's just some restrictions. We'll take a look in a second here. Right now, Justin is choosing a card to probe with, the probe Narshada. And that does not appear to be the hidden base. It's funny, 10 years ago I actually designed a board game called Race to the Hidden Base. That was a Star Wars based board game. It's basically like Clue, but in space. And it involved doing stuff like this. Dark side trying to find the hidden base, and light side trying to keep them from finding it and get the message out. It was an interesting game. Never actually, I got like 90% done with it, and then knew I was never going to get licensing rights for it, so I stopped working on it. So Tarn Mizan. By the way, I've disclosed that idea in a live recorded medium. If any of you steal it, I can sue you. For what? Unless you make some monopoly money off that kind of thing, I don't really care. All right, so adds to the power of anything he pilots. When Starfighter he pilots, so he's got to be on a Starfighter and he's got to be piloting it, not just a passenger. Fires a starship weapon. Characters aboard the target are forfeit equals 0 for remainder of turn. So that's all characters on board, pilots and passengers, are forfeit equals 0. So if you crack the immunity of the ship, everybody aboard is forfeit 0, and they have to lose the whole thing. Great for stuff like ISB or Imperial Entanglements that just like pile 9 guys on the Devastator, and you're like, you don't even have to hit the ship, right? It's just fire. Fire a starship weapon. So you don't even have to hit the ship. You just target the ship and actually fire the gun, and don't have it being canceled by something like Trade Federation tactics. And then everybody on board is forfeit 0, and then you just got to find crack their immunity, and then the whole thing dies. Um, it does not affect vehicles, though, so that is something to keep in mind against something like entanglements. They have all those Tempest Scouts or ATST or ATATs, Blizzard 1 or Blizzard 2, Blizzard 4, whatever. They can move them up as passengers. They will not lose their forfeit value, and then they can forfeit the vehicles instead of having to lose everything. All right, so Justin sitting comfortably right now, 21, 22, 28, 28 down to Mike's 18 down. Mike is flipped. He can cancel the Force Drain at Narshada. He moves to Naboo. You want to guess what his hidden base is? I'm going to bet 500 Twitch bits. It's Naboo. For those of you wondering how I came to that conclusion, he had all these other systems to move to. He moved to the one he's most interested in his opponent coming to, and hoping he doesn't have another ship. So he moved. The system he picked is going to get probed. This seems really likely. Kaboom, ka-chink. There you go, hidden base out of play. Mike gave him a clue by moving there. He moved there knowing his opponent would eventually have to go there, and then he would probe, and then he could like barrier him or play on target or something like that to stop the ship from moving away, or this would move to here, and then he wouldn't care so much about it happening in the deploy phase. Maybe he's got a sniper and he's going to fire the weapon in the control phase and try and take the ship out. I don't know. There's a number of different things that Mike could have in his hand for interrupt wise. He's going to put back a Sebulba, an Imbalance combo, and an Utaguta. So that's going to put 3 more cards back. Turner's going to use 2. It is a Vader Enforcer. So it will be allowed to deploy for free. He's going to put it on the invisible hand. Well, we know he's got the Gick in his hand, so he's not too worried about the blockade flagship getting crushed. Tarn Musen doesn't even draw Destiny by himself, but that's okay. It's not like he needs to. Turner doesn't have anything up his sleeve to stop him from moving, so he'll just move away and solidify his position. He's going to ship dock and move Tae Hao. Now Tae Hao will be on the battleship. So now, if Mike wants to pay 3 to drain for 2 at Naboo, he can then pay 2 with Tae Hao to reduce the damage. He's like a built-in, it could be worse. So, and depending on whose turn it is, he can use, or how much force he's got active, he can use the Jawa to pay for the Tae Hao. So you're paying 3 to force drain, and then your opponent's using 1 more force to take away 1 of the drain damage. So basically, it's pay 4 to drain for 1. Not a good proposition. You'll take the field, Bill? Well, you lost that bet, huh? The weapon got canceled by the Trade Federation tactics, Bob. That's the used part of Trade Federation tactics. It cancels the starship weapon targeting a capital. I think he would have missed anyway because he drew a 3 for Destiny, for Battle Destiny. It was the hit and run he drew, so he would have missed anyway unless he had something to add to it. We haven't seen him play any interrupts that would have added to it, but I'm more curious what these. Oh, I was gonna say he's got 3 cards out of play. Like one of them's the objective, right? Like what's the other one? The Jabba's prize. All right, Turner's got 16 active, and he's tunnel visioning again. Pretty much has his choice of any card in his deck at this point. So if he's got anything going on, any chance of getting back in this game, this is where he's going to have to do it. I'm going to admit it's not looking good for him right now. He's behind on Life Force considerably. 19 and 9 is 28 total to 23 and 15 is 38 total. So he's down 10 cards. He's not really causing any damage. He can basically pay 4 to drain for 1, while his opponent does 1 or 2 damage here and there, and then maybe possibly some Watto damage. It's just gonna get to the point where Mike's just gonna keep getting needled. Death by 1,000 paper cuts over here. Unless Justin has a way to increase the damage output and speed things up a little bit. I know he's got at least 1 or 2 cards that can help with that. I remember from our game, but just in case any of Mike Turner's friends are watching, I don't want to give too much information away. All right, he's got a Blue Squadron B-Wing. He's going to put an intruder missile or some kind of weapon on him, right? Concussion missile, okay. So does this thing add each of its weapon destiny draws is +2. Can fire 2 or more weapons during battle as well. There you go. There's the second weapon. So the intruder missile here, target a capital for free. You add 3 if it's already been targeted by another weapon. So, and then after you fire, you put the 7 in the used pile. So you fire the concussion missile. If you hit it, great. If not, well, now that just means the intruder missile shoots at +3, plus the B-wing is already shooting at +2. So now you're basically shooting at +5 against something that is only armor 5. But we're going to run back into that Trade Federation tactics, I bet, because Justin's got 15 cards in his hand and presumably has 2 or 3 copies of Trade Federation tactics in his deck. So there's a decent chance he would have drawn another one by now. And we're going to see it right here. I think this is Turner. We've heard about on other shows, people talk about, the hidden base weapons deck, and people get more excited about the ships. I shot the Executor down, as opposed to rather than how many games they've won with it. I have a feeling that this is more one of those moral victory type things that he's going for. This is also armor 5, so that should be a miss. As he draws the steady aim. Now Teihao is on the blockade ship, so he'll take another shot at it with the intruder missile, which is really Mike's only chance of getting damage through. Now, interestingly enough, you would think with a deck like this, playing this type of space weapons and this many of them, he'd run. There's the tactics again. He'd run like superficial damage, so he could forfeit the weapons to the use pile to get for three force or for three forfeit value. Yeah, he's gonna throw in the towel right here. There's not much he can do. Congrats, Justin, on picking up the win. Yeah, cancel an attempt to use a weapon to target your capital starship. So that's gonna do it. We'll go back to the old leaderboard here and see that Justin should have now leapfrogged all the way up to second place over all the other 30s with his win there. So now he's got quite a bit of gap here between himself and Stubley. It's like almost 7%. Uh, yeah, Turner had some pretty good win percentage going. Turner still has 4 games left to play. If Mike wins his 4 games, he could still get to 30, and right now his win percentage would be higher. Of course, the more games he wins, the more he helps Justin's win percentage too. But so yeah, Tactics was definitely the MVP of this game, saved him from 2 weapon shots. But it was designed obviously because the hidden base Capitals deck was quite a bit of a lockdown scenario and very frustrating to play against. So they did create a card to kind of. I created several cards, Security Precautions V being another one, designed to restrict that from being such an NPE experience, negative playing experience. So, all right. Well, that was a fun game here. Looks like somebody's trying to get another dark game in with their OCS. Tempting. I have a couple of light side games left to play this month. I might just jump into this one. And watch it disappears. Um, no, I don't think I'm going to play tonight. I'll try and squeeze them in throughout the rest of the week. Um, but I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. Didn't really have a whole lot to talk about this week. It was kind of a slow week. Be sure and sign up for Texas Mini Worlds if you haven't already, and then fill out the little form to send your GEMP user information and stuff to Rob, so he can put you in the right pods, get everybody seated. Um, Check out the Hollow Theater show this week. Dan, did you guys decide on a guest? See if Dan's still around. I don't know if they have a guest yet for this week's show. I think Jerry's back this week. I think it's Dan and Jerry. The return of Gary. For tune in Wednesday night to see the return of Gary. Oh, Gary won't be back this week. Ah, okay. Well, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock, Hollow Theater. Be there, be square. Uh, or be yeah, whatever. I don't know. And then Thursday, Dan's gonna play somebody as well, probably. Um, and then Friday, the OCS wraps up for the month. So you've got 4 days left to get your games in. Get your 8, get your 12 games in for your Poe Dameron foils. And we'll see you back here next Monday night. Thank you guys for tuning in, and continue staying safe out there, all right? Have a good one.